Hi, it's a new year, and I need an internship in the next few months, which means I need to beef up my portfolio. I'm gonna make an animation, and I think documenting my process will help me stay motivated and maybe work faster. My animation work has mostly been 2D, and I'm not changing that today, unfortunately, because however fun 3D looks, it's also scary. So I want to create an animation of a guy trying to bike up a hill, and I'll try to finish it all within a week. I started off the project with no direction whatsoever. I knew I wanted to make a biking animation, but that's as far as it went. I tried to make a mood board, but since I didn't really know what I wanted to make, I was just kinda shooting in the dark. Eventually, I found this guy, very cool style, and realistically not something I could animate. However, it's the first day and I'm feeling very ambitious. Without adding anything else into the mood board except the cool shoe that I found, I started trying to draw the character. The more I drew, the more anxious I got because I knew damn well I was being over ambitious. Today, instead of addressing the fear of not being able to animate the little guy, I moved on to storyboards to both make backgrounds and have a rough idea of the sequence of events. And before I show you the storyboard, I just want to point out the lack of backgrounds in the example animations that I showed you before. The animation is made up of 5 parts. The first shot of the guy biking by, then a shot of the guy riding towards the hill, a shot of his face looking really determined, a shot of him pedaling, and then finally a shot of the hillside with the character struggling to bike up. While drawing a bike, I realized that although I thought I knew how a bike looks, I really don't, and I need some references. Luckily, I do have a bike, so I can get some. Admittedly, my bike isn't the best pick for this as I'm missing some important components that are crucial for a bike, but it works as I just need a few angles. Although I'm still not sure how to animate the character, I just went ahead and started to animate the first scene. Here's what I ended up making. You might notice that the guy looks nothing like what I was going for, and that's true, it is true. Also, I have an orange thing following him. I just thought that could look cool. At least I can check off the scene off the list now. Having slept on it, I realized that I don't like the animation anymore. Scrolling through Pinterest, I found some really cool inspo and decided to go to a completely different stylistic direction, which is especially cool since I only have 4 days left. Say hello to this guy or girl, I'm not sure what it is, but what a cool little guy. With a wave of inspiration, I immediately made a cool looping animation that I ended up putting in 2 scenes. However, since it's not very visible, I'll leave it up here for you to admire. To get the 2 full scenes, I basically asked After Effects to get the biking guy from point A to point B, and although it ended up being a little bit twitchy, here's the result. Also, look at these backgrounds. Wow, wow, wow. To be completely honest, I didn't do too much work today, except this one scene that took unreasonably long, because I decided to redraw each frame. However, I think it ended up looking really cool. I did end up going a little crazy with the eyes splitting at the end, however I think it has a really cool vibe. I didn't know how to make the background, so I just drew a bunch of sticks. Uh-oh, the made-up deadline is becoming stressful now. I still have 3 animations and I don't even know how I'll animate that last scene, so obviously I'll just leave it for the end. The pedaling scene was the quickest and easiest of the bunch, with only the coloring being a little bit annoying. Also, I still don't know how to animate the background for this, so I stuck with the brown lines. Next up was the scene with the hill in the background. The main goal of this background was to mostly just bring attention to the foreground so the detail in the back went kinda downhill, but I think it works. I'm also not sure if the hill is very noticeable, but that's okay. Unlike the first 2 scenes, I animated this one on the background to avoid the twitchiness. It ended up being a pretty quick animation since there's not a lot happening. Today, I quickly made the background for the last scene and animated the guy stopping. Honestly, the animation doesn't really look like he's stopping because it was too hard to ride up the hill, but because he kinda just feels like he needs to lie down for a bit. So I went with it, animating him lying down and an extra quick scene close up of him contemplating life. Also, randomly I found this animation and I really liked the background, so I tried implementing it into my close-up scenes. It ended up going from poopy brown to a nice cool abstract look, I think. Next up, I had to fix the first 2 scenes. I tried moving the animation in Procreate Dreams, but it was still kinda twitchy, so I just adjusted it frame by frame. Also, just to try, I put some lines to kinda have smear frames to show movement. Although it didn't look like smear frames at all, it ended up looking pretty cool, so I put it on a few other scenes. It's night now. Here's the final animation with a few sound effects slapped on. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.